welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something pretty fascinating, a collection of your thoughts, actually, from a document dated April 20th, 2025, titled Celebrities.
Exactly. Yeah, you sent these reflections in, and they really get at something we all kind of experience it, don't we? This really intricate relationship we have with famous people.
The ones who seem to take up so much space in, the public sphere.
Right, and in our attention spans, too.
So our goal here, our mission, let's say, isn't just to, skim the surface. We really want to unpack the complex stuff happening underneath. We're trying to go beyond just the headlines, figure out why celebrities hold such sway over us, over our imaginations.
We'll look at the paradoxes of the questions these notes raise, hopefully get to some of those aha moments for everyone listening.
Yeah, about this part of our culture that's just everywhere. Okay, so let's jump right in. The document, it really highlights this core contradiction, this dual nature of stardom.
It really does.
Yeah.
It's laid out quite clearly. Celebrities are simultaneously these idols we admire and also, strangely, these dehumanized commodities.
Right.
Think about it. The musicians, we pore over their lyrics. Athletes, we analyze every single move.
Actors, influencers, streamers. Yeah, they're all over our feeds, dominating conversations, and like you said, dominating our imaginations too.
They absolutely shape trends, fuel what we talk about, and for a lot of people, they really do act as these sort of emotional anchors.
It's almost like a modern pantheon, isn't it?
It kind of is, but then the flip side is this process of dehumanization. They become brands, products, their private lives just torn open for public consumption in a way that's, frankly, unthinkable for most of us.
So the key takeaway there is we kind of elevate them and commodify them at the exact same time. It creates this tension.
Or a real inherent tension in how we relate to them.
And that flows right into the emotional side, these connections we feel. Often these one-way streets, right? Parasocial relationships, your notes mentioned that.
Yes. Parasocial relationships. This is where it gets really, really interesting. These one-sided emotional bonds.
Where the fan feels close, but the celebrity has no idea who they are.
Precisely. And platforms, like YouTube, Twitch, they've just amplified this hugely.
How so?
Well, that feeling of being spoken to directly, seeing those behind-the-scenes glimpses, it creates this powerful illusion of intimacy, like they're actually your friend.
Oh, totally. You see it all the time. People get so invested. It's escapism, like the notes say.
Yeah.
You see sports fans genuinely distraught after a loss, or, the stands online defending their favorite artist, like their life depends on it. It's intense.
And it's got two sides, hasn't it? On one hand, sharing that feeling can build community, a shared culture around these figures. But it can also tip over into dissociation, maybe, where these one-sided bonds become overly important, a substitute for real-life connection sometimes.
So essentially, it's tapping into a real human need for connection, but projecting it onto people we don't actually know. Often for escapism or exploring parts of our own identity.
That sums it up well.
Okay, then there's this other angle in the notes. About us as consumers. How we form these incredibly strong judgments about celebrities. Sometimes really harsh ones.
Yeah, that raises some big questions about how we engage. The examples in the notes are pretty stark, aren't they? Athletes getting booed relentlessly for one bad game.
Or singers being canceled over a tweet. It's like psychological whiplash.
It really is. That quick swing from putting them on a pedestal to just tearing them down.
It's like we feel we own them somehow.
Yeah.
The notes use that word ownership, and it really clicks. Like fans feel they have a right to control their lives.
Exactly. And the objectification, it's not just sexual. It's reducing a whole complex person down to just a role, a performance, a brand. We demand perfection, but then we also say we admire the grind, the struggle. It's completely contradictory when you think about it.
It really is.
Yeah.
And something we often just forget, I think, is all the invisible work that goes into making that celebrity image, making the stuff they put out.
Oh, that's a crucial point. Your notes really highlight that hidden network, right? The collaborators who stay in the shadows.
Background musicians, ghostwriters.
Choreographers, editors, assistants. The list goes on. They're the scaffolding that holds the star up, but we rarely see them.
So true. In music, film, sports, even streaming. We fixate on the one person out front, the MVP, as the notes say.
Yeah.
We miss the team effort.
And it's pointed out, quite rightly, that, talent and hard work matter, but so do things like privilege, pure luck, who you know.
And now, algorithms.
And definitely algorithms. These systems deciding who gets seen. Fame, turns out, isn't just about raw talent anymore. if it ever was.
So why do we focus so intensely on these people? The notes dig into the psychology of it, suggesting it serves a real purpose for us.
Right, connecting it back to us. Celebrities often function as these kinds of avatars. They embody our hopes, maybe our frustrations, even parts of our identity.
The notes talk about fandoms and sports teams as tribes. That feels right, giving us that sense of belonging, a shared identity.
Absolutely.
And it's like we kind of outsource our feelings to them. Their wins feel like our wins. Their losses sting us too. The notes call it identity management. That's quite sharp.
It is. It shows how tangled up our own self-image can get with the stories and successes of these public figures we follow.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, your notes also bring up some big economic and, well, moral questions.
Yeah, it tackles it pretty head-on. Can we really justify the extreme wealth some individuals get just for entertaining us? It makes you question societal values.
It's that contrast you draw, isn't it? The massive paychecks for entertainers versus the often really low pay for essential workers.
Teachers, caregivers, social workers, the people literally holding society together.
Right.
Now, the argument is often, intense competition drives excellence and the money reflects that market value.
Yeah.
But the document also suggests, wisely I think, that focusing on this extreme wealth might distract us from bigger issues like systemic inequality.
Then the discussion pivots again, bringing in AI.
Yeah.
It feels very current.
Yes, this is where it gets quite speculative, but really thought-provoking. The idea of AI as a dehumanized mirror to how we already treat celebrities.
Explain that a bit more.
Well, think about it. We often consume their content pretty transactionally, right? We interpret these crafted personas, and when someone new comes along, we often just move on.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
So AI entertainers, always available, totally customizable, no scandals. They start to look like a logical, if maybe creepy, extension of that dynamic.
It does raise that question.
Okay.
Is that what we actually want? And what does the possibility of AI performers say about what we truly value in human creativity?
Big questions.
It forces a rethink of talent itself, doesn't it? The notes mention how going viral can sometimes eclipse years of actual skill building.
Totally. Our whole understanding of what talent is seems to be shifting. Is it innate ability? Is it something earned through hard graft? Or is it increasingly just being boosted by an algorithm?
It feels like the old gatekeepers are gone, replaced by something more random, maybe less fair. The document calls for like a more measured approach to praise and criticism.
Yeah, and a call to see creators as whole people, complex individuals, not just brands to be consumed and tossed aside.
Your notes also push back against the idea that entertainment is just frivolous, unimportant fluff.
Right, but the argument made is actually quite strong. Entertainment brings people together, lifts spirits, helps preserve culture, especially when times are tough.
Think about music during a crisis, or shared stories.
Exactly. It provides comfort, connection, a sense of normalcy. But, as the notes are careful to state, acknowledging that value doesn't suddenly justify the huge pay gaps with essential workers.
Right, two different issues. Cultural value and economic fairness.
Precisely. And then the document explores this illusion of upward mobility, often sold through celebrity stories.
Ah yeah, the classic rags to riches tale. We see it constantly. Someone overcomes hardship to achieve immense fame and fortune.
But the Knights astutely argue that this narrative often hides the reality of, rigged systems, and the fact that for most people, moving up the ladder is incredibly difficult, maybe more than ever.
We idolize the super rich, the 1%, partly because we aspire to it, even if the odds are tiny.
And while AI might lower barriers for creating content, letting more people make stuff,
It doesn't guarantee anyone will see it or pay for it.
exactly, still reinforces that illusion of meritocracy, as the notes put it.
Then there's the whole impact of algorithms and virality just changing what fame is.
It's a radically different world than even, say, 20 years ago. That shift from needing years of work and industry approval to potentially blowing up overnight online, it's huge.
Yeah.
And it's led to what the notes call fame inflation. More famous people, maybe, but the connections feel shallower and burnout seems way faster.
Especially for online creators, that pressure to be always on.
Relentless cycles of production, then exhaustion. It's rough.
And it comes back to confusing visibility with actual value or skill, doesn't it?
It really does. Which brings us to a really heavy, often ignored part, the human cost. The potential for real trauma that comes with fame.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that behind the glamour. The notes talk about the constant scrutiny, the gossip, the online hate, the total lack of privacy. it takes a toll.
And the examples given, like the public struggles of Britney Spears or Naomi Osaka, they're stark reminders.
There's that awful double bind, too. The public demands vulnerability, but then that vulnerability gets twisted and used against them.
It really highlights how our sort of consumption-driven culture around celebrity often forgets basic humanity.
And that ties into what the notes call the double bind of authenticity.
Ah, yes, that impossible tightrope. Be real, but only in a way we find palatable.
Right, you get slammed for being too honest, but also slammed for being too polished or fake.
It's a lose-lose, often. Leads to identity crises, burnout, and then you have the potential rise of these perfect, tireless, controversy-proof AI influencers on the horizon.
Is that progress? Or are we losing something vital about human messiness and connection?
That's the question.
Okay, another really interesting lens the document uses is comparing celebrity culture to religion.
It's a striking comparison, but it holds up in some ways. Think about the rituals, concerts, games, the scripture tweets, interviews, the moral tales, cancel culture, redemption stories.
Huh. So, in a world that's maybe more secular, celebrities step into that space, offering something to believe in, to rally around.
Potentially. But the notes also warn about the downsides of that kind of uncritical worship. It sets people up for disappointment when their idols inevitably stumble.
And scapegoating.
And scapegoating. And maybe worst, it can replace critical thought with a just blind faith.
The rise of AI also makes us question originality in art, doesn't it?
Yeah, the gut reaction is often, AI art has no soul. But the notes cleverly point out that tons of pop culture is already collaborative and curated.
Right, like teams of songwriters for one pop song, or actors saying lines someone else wrote.
Exactly. So maybe originality isn't so black and white. The document suggests thinking about creativity as more of a spectrum adaptation, inspiration, AI. They all might have a place.
And that brings us back to separating fame from actual craft.
Which the notes really emphasize. It's easy to mix them up, assume fame equals skill.
But we know there are countless incredibly talented people who just aren't widely known.
Right. The issue isn't celebrity itself, maybe, but how often real craft goes unrecognized while visibility gets all the attention.
So wrapping up, the document ends with a direct challenge. Some questions for us, for the listener, as consumers of all this.
Yeah, it prompts some personal reflection. How do you actually feel after scrolling through celebrity news or watching their content? Have you formed those parasocial bonds?
And maybe the kicker. Do the real people in your life get the same level of attention and admiration?
Oof, that's a tough one.
And it leaves us mulling over this final thought. Imagine what could be created, what problems could be tackled, if even a tiny bit of the energy we pour into following celebrities was redirected.
Redirected towards ourselves, our own communities, our own potential. It's a powerful idea.
So to quickly recap this deep dive into your notes, celebrities.pdf. We've touched on that idolization-dehumanization paradox, the power of parasocial ties, the money and psychology behind it all, the whole AI angle, and really the need to be more mindful consumers of fame.
Absolutely. We covered a lot of ground.
And maybe the final takeaway for everyone listening is this. As you go about your day, when you see that headline or click on that video, just pause for a second. Think about the dynamics we talked about. What does your engagement really say about your values and where you choose to put your attention?
That's the core question, isn't it?
It is. Well, thank you for sharing these really insightful reflections that sparked this whole conversation. And thanks to everyone for taking this deep dive with us. Definitely gives us all something to think about regarding our own relationship with fame and what we truly value.